Hi everyone, I'm Ryan from Go Natural English, and today I'm talking about brand names that are difficult to pronounce. So the world today is extremely connected. Companies and brands and services from one country are totally available in another. Normally the names are a bit different in the languages. You pronounce them differently. So today I want to go through some of these difficult to pronounce brand names, give you the proper pronunciation, the American pronunciation, and maybe a little bit of details. And before we get started, I want to mention our newsletter. If you're serious about learning English and want extra free tips sent directly to your inbox, sign up for our newsletter. The link is in the description. All right, let's get after it. So let's begin today's video with some luxury brands. And by luxury, I mean expensive. And the first brand today I'm going to talk about was created in 1854 in France, and it's Louis Vuitton. So that's how an American normally pronounces this. Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton. But the correct pronunciation, the way they say it in France, would be Louis Vuitton. Vuitton. Louis Vuitton, if you were going to combine them together. But don't do that. So if you're in the USA, it's easiest, most recognizable to say Louis Vuitton. And if you're in France, you can say Louis Vuitton. So this next brand is very famous for a perfume, number 5, but also has plenty of high quality women's clothing. And it's Chanel. So in America, we say Chanel. And in France, it's not that much different. Chanel, Chanel. Very quick, Chanel. And this brand was also founded in Paris in 1910. Okay, next up we have a luxury brand, again from Paris, France, but this one was founded in 1952 by Hubert de Givenchy. Perhaps you don't recognize the name based on the French pronunciation because in English, in America, we say Givenchy. And I know when I saw this before, I thought it was maybe Italian. And we just changed the spelling, like Da Vinci, Givenchy. But actually it is French, and you pronounce it Givenchy. Givenchy. So next up, we have a Spanish brand, former Spanish brand, which was founded in 1917 by Cristóbal Balenciaga. Did you get what I said? In English, in America, we say Balenciaga. But back when he founded it in San Sebastian, in Spain, it was called Balenciaga, but it was moved later to Paris and they changed the pronunciation. And so now in France, they say Balenciaga. In English, it's almost the exact same. Balenciaga, Balenciaga, all good. All right, jumping back to Paris. Almost all of these luxury brands are from Paris. YSL. Do you know how to pronounce this one? In America, someone might say Yves Saint Laurent, Yves Saint Laurent. Or they might just say YSL or Saint Laurent. But the French pronunciation at least, is Yves Saint Laurent. Yves Saint Laurent. Next up in the luxury, we're moving to the UK. A British brand by the name of Burberry. But in America, we would say Burberry. Because you know we love our hard R's in America. In England, they'll be a little bit softer with these R's, and they'll say Burberry, 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 Burberry. You want to shop at Burberry? Something like this. But in America, again, we would say Burberry. Don't say Burberry, Burberry. Finally, for the luxury brands, you could have guessed it, we're back in France for Hermès. I've heard this pronounced a million ways. In French, the correct way to say this is Hermès. 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 And in American English, you can get away with saying Hermès. Like air, the air. Mess. Hermès. Don't say Hermes or something like this. Now that we've talked about luxury brands, clothing that I will never buy, let's talk about some stuff that I do have. Some mainstream fashion and apparel. And we'll start with the maker of the shirt that I'm wearing, Adidas. So in the USA, we say Adidas. Adidas. This is an Adidas shirt, but actually it comes from Germany, where they say Adidas. 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 which is from a man's name, the creator. His name was Adolf Dassler. Adidas is a combination of his nickname. So the nickname for Adolf is Adi, Dassler, Adidas. Next is a brand that is mostly famous for their backpacks because I see them everywhere in Europe, and that is Fjällräven. So in American English, I've heard it pronounced a few different ways. I've heard Fjällräven, 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 but it's a Swedish brand, and in Swedish they might say Fjällräven, which means Arctic fox. So that explains the symbol that you see around the name. Fjällräven, Arctic fox. Kanken is the verb to carry. So the Arctic fox carries something like this. Next we have possibly the most famous sports brand in the world, Nike. Nike. So I was shocked to hear when I first traveled to Europe, people say Nike. I lost. So Nike is an American brand and we pronounce it Nike, like a key. Nike, not Nike. No American would ever say Nike for sure. Now, because we've already talked about the luxury brands, which had a lot of French designers, this one is often confused for being French, but in fact, it is American. So Polo Ralph Lauren. That's what we say. That's what you should be saying. That's what we say in America. But I hear some people get a little bit fancy and a little bit French, and they'll say Ralph Lauren, Ralph Lauren, Ralph Lauren. This is getting a little bit too fancy for no reason because it's an American company and the way that it is pronounced standard is Ralph Lauren and Polo. Polo, Ralph Lauren. Finally, I want to finish up with some car brands and some electronic brands that are a bit difficult to pronounce. And we'll start with this car brand from America, Chevrolet. Chevrolet. So now we're back to the French sounds. You're not pronouncing that T at the end. It's Chevrolet. You pronounce Chevrolet. And if you want to be a little bit more informal, the nickname for these types of cars are Chevys. So I have a Chevy Avenger. Next up is another American car company, Chrysler. Chrysler. But don't get used to it because next year Chrysler is merging with the French company Peugeot and the company will be renamed Stellantis. Stellantis. Say goodbye to Chrysler and hello to Stellantis. A couple of Asian car companies that are very famous that you might not be pronouncing correctly. Toyota. 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 Right? That intonation is on that O. Toyota. Toyota. Continuing on the Asian cars, we have the South Korean car company, Hyundai. I'm not saying it exactly the way a South Korean person would say it. Closest pronunciation in English would be Hyundai. And I've heard people in America say Hyundai, 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 something like this, trying to get really fancy or something, but it's just simply Hyundai. Hyundai. So a couple of cell phone companies. The first one, they're both Chinese companies, but they're becoming very popular around the world. And the first one is Xiaomi. Xiaomi. So in Chinese, I don't speak Mandarin, but it is, you open your mouth more in the first part. Xiaomi. Xiaomi. So I've heard some people say they emphasize the me part, so Xiaomi or Xiaomi, like Xiaomi, but in Mandarin, again, I don't speak Mandarin, but it's similar to Xiaomi. Xiaomi. The other cell phone company, which is immensely popular because of the photo abilities of the camera, and usually the price is not so bad, is Huawei. So in America, I've heard many people say this different ways. I've heard Huawei, 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 Huawei. There's just a million different ways people are saying it. But in Mandarin, the best way that I can explain to say it would be Huawei, Huawei, Huawei. So anything else, you're getting farther and farther from the actual pronunciation. So in English, in America, if you want to be simple, you might just say Huawei, 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 Huawei. So that wraps up today's lesson on brand names. Do you have any questions? I would like to know, what is the most interesting brand name in your country? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing. It helps us know what kind of content you like and how we can grow this awesome Go Natural community. For further learning on your English journey, you can check out one of our other videos. And until then, I'm Ryan, this is Go Natural English, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.